Hi, my name's David Stewart, and I wanted to take this week to talk about tone generation on the classical guitar. What I mean by tone generation is the sound and the quality of sound that comes out of your instrument when you play it. What we're going to talk about this week is playing with a variety of tones and learning how to coax forth the tones that you really want out of a guitar. Some schools of thought think that you should play the guitar with one very, very good type of tone, and that you should perfect that tone and play with one tone. That's not really the way I approach the instrument, and that's not something I actually really enjoy hearing in a recital at all. And that kind of goes for jazz guitar as well, which I think tends to play with sort of one tone at a time. From my perspective, if you're going to play an instrument that produces only one tone, rather than struggling to produce one tone on an instrument that's made to produce a variety of tone, you should pick an instrument that sort of by its nature produces one tone, like a piano. So if you're interested in playing with one sort of tone, I prefer an instrument like piano over a guitar. I feel like the strength of the guitar is really in playing with a lot of different tones, and that's what I'm going to explain right now. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at the right hand real quick. I'm going to lower this down, so here's my right hand. And all of the generation of the tone of our strings comes from the right hand, and very little of the left hand has anything to do with it unless you're playing a lot of slurs or things like that. So there's two methods that we can use to achieve different kinds of tones. The first one is where we strike the strings along the lengths of the string. When we play closer to the bridge, it produces a very, very bright sound. As we start to move away from the bridge, the tone begins to darken until we have a nice mellow tone, until we get all the way over the fingerboard. And we get to the 12th fret, we get a very unique hollow sound. So it's bright over here. I qualify that as bright. Dark over here. We have everything in between. The terms for these are ponticello, normale, which is right behind the sound hole. So ponticello is close to the bridge. Normale, right behind the sound hole. Tasto, which is sort of over the sound hole. And dolce can be the same as tasto, or it could even mean something even darker. Dolce really means sweetly, so that's a direction for general playing, not just tone. Okay? So we have everything in between there. When we're playing a piece, if I just play an excerpt from Lagrima, we can get a variety of tones. Repeat that, we can play it bright. Okay, so we can get a lot of different tones even within one phrase, from being very dark, and we can play that bright. You can do sort of anything that you want to do within a piece of music by changing where along the strings you're playing. You can play bright, you can darken it as you go. Play dark, and brighten it as you go. A lot of these are sort of left up to the discretion of the performer, so when you're performing a particular piece, you can make decisions like that. The other way that we can affect tone on our instrument is to change the angle at which we are striking the strings. Okay? If you're playing, as I instructed on an earlier video, at a slight angle to the strings, you're going to get a nice sort of bright and round tone. If you play more straight across the strings, it's going to brighten up a little bit and get a little more tinny. And as you play more at an closer to, it gets softer, especially on the trebles. Now if we play at a steep angle on the basses, we're going to get an even stranger tone, which is that scratchy sound. Okay? So it's really... We can use that to really good effect to produce sort of two different tones if we want. A dark tone and a bright tone at the same time. Okay, so that's Villalobos Prelude 1. So we can use that. In fact, that's a really good thing to use in Prelude 1, to get a bright sound with the fingers and a dark sound with the thumb, and you can combine those. Now let's talk briefly about the way that those work so you understand exactly how they work. And the reason that we get a brighter sound down here by the bridge because we're allowing more of the string length to vibrate. And on the strings we have these things called harmonics. I'm sure you know how to play those. Okay, by touching the string on different lengths you can play harmonics. And I'll do a video specifically on harmonics in the future. But those are ringing out all the time, and the closer you get to the bridge, the higher harmonics you're allowing to ring out, producing a more brilliant, more bright sound. And in some cases, a louder sound can be perceived as louder when it's brighter. And as you move away from the bridge, you're silencing more of those high frequencies until you're silencing a lot of the overtones and creating a more hollow, dark sound. When you get to the 12th fret, that's the midpoint. There's a harmonic there. And you'll actually be canceling out the first partial, giving it a very clarinet-like tone. And you can actually use this in a lot of pieces to produce a very clarinet-like sort of hollow tone. The same thing is true with the angle. When you play at a 45-degree angle, it's going to silence some of those very, very small vibrating partials, and as you play very straight across the string, it's allowing those to ring nice and clear. So that's basic tone generation on the classical guitar. The closer you play to the bridge, the more bright it's going to be. The further away, the more dark it's going to be. Okay, so we can get a variety of tones. Alright, so that's tone generation on the classical guitar. I hope you found that fun and informative. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share it if you think somebody might want to see that. That's my take on it. That's the way I suggest you practice and start bringing those tones into your practice if you haven't really thought about that before. It's what separates a mediocre or okay performer, or even like an intermediate performer, from a very advanced, very high quality, very moving performer. So, good luck, and thank you for watching.